I'll introduce you. I did want to say really quick, congratulations to, I hope I'm saying your name right, Yurixa? Okay. She had an amazing first experience with coaching. You've been a coach for a while, but kind of a discount coach, and she finally got over her fear of posting and sharing on her stories and inviting to a challenge group. And I think she had 4 enrollees who signed up with challenge packs, and it's going to be her first challenge group. And so that's super exciting. And I want to say congratulations. That's so awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you. I think you say Johanna is your name. Is that how you say it? Or Johanna? Johanna. Okay. But because your group was, the meeting that you did a couple of Saturdays ago was what led me to do that. And I decided to go with Zaya Activewear because my friend, the girl that I coach volleyball with here at the high school, is doing that. And tagging her, I think it's tagging the other 2 people really helped to just more people saw it. So it was definitely more. I was telling Stephanie, I'm a little overwhelmed because I was not expecting to have so many things. I'm still closing out the school year at the high school. So we have graduation next week. So it's a little bit more, but I'm up for the challenge and I'm excited.
That's awesome. And the funny thing is I had my very first challenge group. I had the same kind of situation where a girlfriend who I bought Zaya clothes from, she's like, if you want to do a thing together, I'll give away a tank top if you want to, just put my name on there and do the thing. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I had the exact same experience. My first time, I really went for it too. Funny.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that something you shared on your call last week? Because I don't remember that part.
No, I didn't actually. It was just a coincidence, but it was just the same that reminded me.
Okay. All right.
That I bought clothes from offered me a tank top and let that be my little prize for my first one. That same kind of.
Yeah, and thank you so much for hosting the team call last weekend. And I think 2 weeks ago you were our guest speaker, or the week before you were our guest speaker. So thank you for all the awesome
It's actually been fun, and I'll get the recording out, I promise.
Okay, thank you. And I'll add it to the units. I appreciate you for doing that.
No problem.
And then I want to get to Jen, so we have a lot of time to hear from her. Jenny has been a coach for 6 years, I think, almost kind of in the beginning with me, because really I didn't know what I was doing when she joined. I was just trying to figure it out. And at that time I kept seeing what other coaches were doing and being like, oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. Oh, and we were all over the place and, trying to find our groove. And so Jen ended up kind of building her own team. At that time, it was a different name. Iron Sharpens Iron Revolution. And then her coach actually that sponsored her, because I didn't sponsor Jen initially, is not a coach anymore. So Jen rolled up to me and became my personally sponsored coach. And then she kind of was just figuring things out on her own, and then found a success partner in the Beachbody community outside of our team. They're building their team together. I've been watching her Instagram stories. She's killing it with sharing about coaching, sharing about her journey. She's always really been in shape. And especially through a big loss that she experienced over the last 2 years. And I've just watched you and I've seen you, your journey unfold, and crushed your volume last week. I mean, tripled her volume or doubled her volume, her team volume, which is amazing, and surpassed me, which I'm so excited about, because that's all you can hope for, is that your team can do better than you. So since I saw all this happening, congratulations. And I asked her, would you be willing to come and share, about how you're branding yourself and how you're talking to your avatar? Because what I've seen is she's really niched down, and she's really helping the women that need her right now and being the light for them. So I think she's going to be really helpful for us to, because I still struggle with my brand, to get really clear on how to talk to our avatar and how to brand ourselves and how to build our business even through the struggles, and actually using the struggles as a platform to, to help people. So thank you so much. And I'm excited to hear from you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me here. So Marissa kind of shared the backstory of my evolution within the team and everything. And so I'll kind of pick up with my story for those of you who don't know much about me. I had been coaching about 3 years. Yeah, I think it was 3 years, almost 3 full years. And I had actually decided to leave my job because I had a conversation with, I just fell in love with Beachbody from the beginning. I ran with it from the beginning. And I had decided to, my husband and I talked, we didn't have a lot of financial obligations at the time. And I was like making a good part-time income with Beachbody, and decided to sort of take the opportunity to try to run with it full time, and leave my work so that I could try to establish a really strong business before we brought kids into our lives. So I did that in around August of 2016. And in April 2017, we found out we were pregnant with our first. And so, you know, things were going great. I was feeling great. I was like, finally, I'm going to get to tell the Beachbody pregnancy story, because like Marissa said, I've always been pretty fit. I mean, I lost like a grand total of 6 pounds. My body completely changed, but like I didn't have this massive transformation story. And often I felt discredited because of that. I felt like people looked at me and were like, well, yeah, but you're already fit. You're already doing this. Like, you didn't need to do this. And it frustrated me because I was like, that doesn't mean I was confident in my body. And that doesn't mean that I was happy with, you know, my habits. It just means that I had an overall fit frame, you know, in other people's standards. And people really will like, because they don't have the confidence to make the change, they'll just assume that like you're a unicorn or something and like only you can do this. So anyways, I was really excited to be able to like share, okay, now I'm gaining weight. Now I'm going to have this other aspect to my fitness journey, as well as expecting our first child. And we went in for our 12 or 13 week ultrasound, and we just, our world was shattered. We found out we didn't know it was at the time, and that we should either expect a miscarriage or we should expect a stillbirth. And I was given the opportunity or decision to abort if I wanted to. But I couldn't get there. I couldn't get there when I saw this little baby on the ultrasound with the heart beating away. And I just couldn't get a confidence in that. Really, the only piece I found was letting nature take its course for however long he was going to be with us. So I endured the pregnancy. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. I had taken Jesse Reagan's Facebook ads training course leading up to this. So I had already gotten really comfortable going live. I had already gotten really comfortable telling my story. And I was like, so I have 2 choices right now. I can disappear because my world's falling apart, or I can authentically share and let people into my world. And so I decided to do the latter and continue with telling my story via live video on Facebook. I mean, we're talking ugly, cried, made a fool of myself probably on these stories, but I told the story and people deeply connected with it. I mean, when we're talking about, not that this was the reason I did it, but we're talking about catching traction for our posts and our stories, I did not have a problem getting 1,000 to 2,000 views on these videos. Like, it was unreal. I was like, people are attached to this story. It's the craziest thing to me. So I did it the whole pregnancy. Matthew ended up coming at 35 and a half weeks, 3 weeks after we moved from Miami to Jacksonville. And I did take a little bit of a break at that point. And Marissa told a little bit of the story about how my team was called Iron Revolution before. I had built a pretty strong team, but they had all over the course of that year started falling off. And or just like, there's still, many of them are still discount coaches. They're just not actively building. And I'm in the hospital with a dead baby in my arms, and I didn't have a single team member who offered to take over my groups for me or anything like that. And like, nobody stepped up. I had one challenger who was a discount coach who was like, what do you need? Can I do anything for you? And so she kind of just posted some recipes and loved on some people in the group for me, but she wasn't actively coaching. Like, the people who I had mentored in coaching were not there for me. And so I sort of started, hold on, my dog's barking at me. Go out, go see Dad. Go right now. Sorry. So I realized at that moment, well, I don't think I realized anything for several months after that, but I realized I had failed to communicate a bigger vision and mission, and I had failed to build a tribe. I had built a community, but I hadn't built a tribe. Community checks in when they want to. Tribe doesn't let you do anything alone, right? So we're going through all this. I'm in this postpartum phase without a baby. I won't go through all the details because it's a long story, but we spent the bulk of so he was born December 2017. We spent the bulk of 2018 mentally, emotionally, spiritually recovering from that and trying to get pregnant again. We then did get pregnant at the end of 2018 and miscarried that pregnancy. So it was just like my world came crashing down multiple times. And so throughout all of this, surprisingly, that year of the pregnancy with Matthew and the year that followed, I hit Success Club every single month, like except for the month of the miscarriage. And I was just like, I don't have it anymore. I don't have it to handle people's objections. I don't have it to reach out. Like, I was so broken at that point. So I missed All-Star Legend by 1 month, which I still kick myself for, but I didn't have it, you know. But I did that entire time stay consistent enough in what I was doing with my health and my fitness to mentally and emotionally get me through this difficulty, have enough people that were joining me on a monthly basis to stay in Success Club. So except for that month. And then I struggled to get back into it regularly for a little bit. But so I do want to sort of wrap up the story. We are pregnant with a healthy baby girl, 8 months, and we're doing great. So we're looking forward to welcoming her sometime around 4th of July, hopefully a little earlier. But she's due on 4th of July. So things are transitioning back into happy and joyful. But I've spent really since July 2017, I found out the week before going to Summit, and I still actually went to that Summit. So July 2017, so we're talking 3 years, she's due in July. So 3 years have been really trying for me. But as Marissa was saying, like, I've really sort of found my voice and found my brand in this. I rebranded my team to Strength for All Seasons because I feel like that sets me apart. I am a person that no matter what gets thrown at me, like, I haven't gone and dug into ice cream to heal me, you know, like, and that's not a judgment statement. It's just a decision. I realized I had to do the work to heal. And I know personal development played a big part in me knowing that. I knew I needed to keep my healthy habits if I was going to keep my sanity. And so I started to share my story of healing, intermixing how my healthy habits got me through versus taking me on this downward spiral of gaining 20, 30, 60 pounds because I was emotionally coping with unhealthy things. Instead, I shared the story of how I was coping and healing my body, mind, and spirit through these daily habits, and really started to niche down community in that infant loss, pregnancy after loss space, primarily on Instagram right now, although the bulk of what I was doing was on Facebook during our pregnancy. And so I rebranded the team to Strength for All Seasons because I felt like that was who I was and that was who I was looking for. I'm looking for a woman who, when life hits her, is going to say, I'm not going to settle for less than my best life, even in the most difficult season of my life. And maybe that's a high expectation, but that's how I live my life. So I want team members who, when I'm in the hospital having Sienna, will step up and say, can I take over your group for a couple weeks so that you can just be a new mom, you know? And not having that, I didn't really realize I didn't have that for probably 6 months after having Matthew. But when I looked back and was like, where were all these women I mentored when I was devastated. Like, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of anything bigger going on in someone's life than a child dying. And I really struggled to connect with where everyone was for me during that. Now, I didn't ask for help, and that's on me, but not having it really deeply impacted me. And so when I started to really focus on who do I want to speak to, who do I want to work with, who is important to me to connect with, that Strength for All Seasons kept coming through. So now my approach is really speak to that girl who's in the struggle and cater both content and invites, quite frankly, to her. And then if other people appreciate my message and connect with me, that's fabulous. I'm not going to not serve a woman who's not been through what I have. In fact, most of my clients still haven't experienced infant loss, but I connect with people on social platforms through this message, and I always try to weave it back in. So now when I'm talking about challenge groups, I can talk about how they helped me through my darkest time in my life. When I'm talking about coaching, I talk about how I was able to work on my terms during the darkest time in my life, because I could not imagine having to go back to work 6 weeks after this and pull myself together and not be a puddle of tears on my keyboard every day. And I really wanted and needed the freedom to emotionally process the depth of the loss and the trial of getting pregnant again and another loss without being obligated to an employer. And so now I can weave all that into this story that communicates the value of what this is in my life, beyond just, hey, do you want to join my challenge group? So that's really sort of how I've directed my messaging and, developing my brand and things like that. I think that can feel overwhelming. I don't know that I've nailed it in any way. There's just some basic things and consistency with messaging that I think I've been able to niche down, and color schemes and stuff like that. I mean, like, all that's, it's fluff, really. It just is a consistent message. Like, that's all you need to think of in terms of branding is, what's my consistent message? What do I have to offer to a specific group of people? And what I do want to tell you too is, you might be hearing this and being like, well, I haven't been through a massive tragedy like that, but your story still matters. And the way you tell your story is something somebody out there needs to hear. They need to hear it the way you tell it, and they need to hear it the way you teach it, and they need to connect with exactly who you are, not somebody else. And getting comfortable in that space without feeling like you're not enough for the rest of the people. Because there will be, like, that's the best message I receive right now is, you put words to something I can't, I know I'm on brand when I get messages like that. So you don't have to have a tragedy, though. You just have to consistently tell your story and always have that backside message of, where does this fit? How is this important to me? And who am I really meant to serve? And beyond avatar, like, I don't really connect with the avatar idea. Like, I probably more than anything write to myself when I'm creating posts and content. I can't even write to my best friends anymore because most of them haven't been through this, So I write to heal my soul, and in doing that, I connect with people who are on the similar struggle. So I feel like I've been talking for a little while right now. Marissa, do you have anything? Do you want me to take a break or anything?
I have a question.
Okay.
That is like what you're talking about is, do you have like a mission statement, like a message that you kind of look at consistently that is like, that you're like, is my post within this message, like one sentence or one paragraph?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I have, like, I don't have anything posted up anywhere. Strength for All Seasons is like my message. I bought Melanie Mitro's Chic planner, and she talks about the 4 hashtag method. So I try to make sure like those 4 main hashtags. So for me, those hashtags are, and I don't use these hashtags, they're just like mental approaches to post: strength for all seasons, life after loss, food matters, and what's the other one? Work on my terms. Like those are kind of my 4 main things. So, but like, I know my overall mission in my head as far as, my goal is to live healthy no matter what I'm facing, and to empower other women to do the same thing. So if we were going to chuck it down into an elevator pitch statement, that would be my statement: is I'm not here to inspire. I hate when people tell me I'm inspiring. Like, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Like, it's awful. I don't want to inspire you. I want to empower you to action. And so my, if we're talking mission, my mission is always empower healthy choices in and out of life's darkest seasons. So seasons of joy, seasons of suck, all of that. And so that's sort of a consistent mission statement that I incorporate.
I love that, because like, so, and I'm gonna, if other people have questions, cool, you can ask if we're in a moment of a break. But like, I think that like, it doesn't have to be that you have the sentence up somewhere, but you have it in your head. Like, you know what, and then you think, is this post in alignment with like my core message? And I think when you get really clear on that, like 1 to 2 sentence, like core message, that's when you really start speaking to your person. Right. So thank you for sharing all that, because that's really like helpful for me, for sure. And
like I think the whole branding and avatar thing, and I am not an expert, but I do think it's been overcomplicated. I don't have a picture in front of me that I think of when I talk to this girl. I have more of the experience, and wanting her to know she's not alone. That's a big priority for me. So I use, and I'm very careful about statements I use. I don't use words like join or interested or things like that. I use words like, do you want to do this with me? Do you want to look into this? Like very like conversational language that I feel like is how I would speak to somebody on the phone, you know, like, or how I would speak to a friend, or if I was talking to a new lost mom, how would I actually talk to her versus, you know, like I would never say to a new friend or a best friend, like, do you want to join my group? Like, that's not a natural language for me. I'd be like, you've got to do this with me or something like that, you know? So getting comfortable in your own voice is a really important thing for you. So if I were to run down, I can break for questions if people have them, or I can go into some like basic core tips, principles, things that I sort of focus on. It's up to you however.
I have one question, Jenny, but maybe like you can go on what you were going to do. But my question for you, just to get different perspectives, is when you bring on a new coach, I would be curious just to know, like, what are the first things you do with a new coach? I'm curious. I mean,
okay.
You can wait till the end, or you can talk about it now if you were on it.
I can take it. I mean, truthfully, bringing on new coaches, I think is, and Marissa can probably attest to this, like, I feel like that's the deepest struggle in this business, right? Getting a new coach on and getting them to take action. I listened to some kind of call from Morrow, and yeah, Marissa's probably seen it. And she really focuses on like pumping the brakes at the beginning and saying, this journey is yours first. And so I've sort of developed that method. Is I get them in my challenge group first. I stop worrying about that quick win mentality. And I want to get them settled there. And then I sort of say, okay, let's get you a success story, and then come back. So I have like a new coach starting point PDF that I will send a new coach, and I'm happy to share that. It's probably been stolen and adapted from my success partners, like connections. And we've made it our own, but the process, you know, I'm big on gathering information, but then I'm huge on implementing. So rather than just taking in all this stuff, I'm like, what can I use from other people that are successful? So they have like a checklist they can go through. But I really have to stay on them. I wouldn't say I've nailed coach onboarding in any way. I do always offer the discount coach option. And then there was a wake up call recently where she talked about how she just encourages like a bestie bonus. And so she'll say, and I think I've included that in the conversation flow that I shared with you guys like a week or so ago. Like when I say that they can enroll as a discount coach, I say that, you know, the really cool part is you can get a bestie bonus, and that can help with a quick win, just getting a friend in. But I never have the expectation they're actually going to coach anybody really for their first 30 days. But I do want to empower them to coach their own people, because I think I think Marissa's probably been there too, where you end up kind of coaching everyone, and then you're like, what? Well, where where does a new coach fit into coaching their own people? So I like the approach of I do, we do, you do, but really getting them to hone in and say, like, commit to your own journey first, and we're going to work through the coaching process while you're doing that, versus get in, start inviting and things like that. So I don't know, does that kind of answer?
Yeah, it does. It's good to hear different perspectives on what you do. I mean, I had a great experience with Marissa and how I got going, but I also wanted to know, and also I have a lot of discount coaches right now. I don't really have any team builders yet. Yep. So I just wanted to, kind of hear.
You and me both, girl. Like I have life for challengers, but nobody who wants to share their story. I'm like, why? But what I will say on that, what I'm really trying to do when I'm talking about coaching is share small wins. So like recently, for instance, we're buying all these baby items, and I'm really trying to share, like, my paycheck this week covered this big pricey item, or in the winter, I had this coat that I had wanted. It was only like $150. It wasn't like a $7,000 coat or anything, but sharing how like my income from coaching is allowing me to make a purchase like that without feeling guilty or feeling like I need to check in with my husband or things like that. Like pulling out those little pain points of what might somebody want that's not, you wouldn't define it as a luxury, but maybe they feel guilty spending the money on it, and telling those little coaching wins around it. So like I really transitioned sharing about challenge groups so much in my primarily Instagram stories to really sharing my coaching day and letting people see, one, there is work involved with this, and two, there are wins involved with this. But they don't have to be these huge multi-million-dollar wins. I don't think people relate to that when they're struggling finance. Like they might want that, but they don't see themselves being a six-figure earner, but they might see themselves benefiting from an extra $150.
Thanks. And that's a good point. And something that also Marissa's told me, but it takes people, it's a good reminder. It takes people lots of times to hear stuff before you finally can like either connect or realize how you can do it.
Absolutely.
I try to remember, like Marissa said, the payday thing, like on Thursdays, like post about the little coaching wins that you can get. And, part of that, like, why can't I remember to do this on a freaking Thursday? But
I know. And it doesn't have to be on a Thursday, but it's a good prompt because you check your paycheck. Yeah. Hopefully you're all checking your paychecks on Thursday. It's like the first thing I do. But it's a good prompt to be like, what can I share? What does this money allow me or my family to do? Or what expense does my child have right now? Or probably not right now because of COVID, but like, kids are expensive. So like, what is something they're needing that you're able to cover maybe with coaching, or partially cover with, you don't have to be this big financial contributor for money to matter. I mean, an extra $50 is date night, right? Or coffee and lunch, it's great. So, hold on. I saw you chatted something.
I like how you share, like, I earned my initial investment back like 9.5 times like this month or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first time I've shared that, but I got really good response on that one. People related to that because I always get don't think I don't get price objections, you guys. I always get the price objections, and I'm like, that's why you do this, like stop saying you can't afford something and start asking how you can afford something. And so when I realized April was a great business month for me, when I realized I had earned back, and when I enrolled, we had DVDs and bags of Shakeology. So I paid like probably $220 for my T25 challenge pack. So when I realized like, oh my gosh, I think I made over $2,000 in just April, which is not, I think it's good money. I mean, it might not be a huge sum of money to people, but like that's good extra money in our home. And I was like, that's a story to tell. That's a story to tell, is to say, because people are worried that they're not actually worried about money, by the way. They're worried about failing and spending the money on something they're going to fail at. So you do have to dig down to that a lot of times. But it is hard right now with COVID and people losing jobs to battle price objections, because it is a sensitive time for that. And so I was like, let me paint the picture of like, in 1 month, now granted, I am 6 years into this. So I don't expect a brand new person to make that in 1 month, but if they can make it back, or if they can cover half of it in 1 month, that's ground that they're covering financially. So that's the first time I did a post like that, but I will probably do more of it.
I think it's more relatable how you're doing it, like those, and I forget, like, I don't think about those things, I try to, cause I already I make too much every week but I could break it down into smaller things, I could break it down into like, but I think the more you make with Beachbody, the like farther away you are from like the people that are starting with you. So I like how you do those little, like, that's exactly, it's like, you do it really well. So you guys check out her Instagram page, watch her stories. I really like how you've upped your, like, how you share about coaching in your stories, because it's helped me figure out, because I'm like, I don't know how to even do that. Like, how do I even, and watching you is like, oh, okay, she's kind of just like throwing it in this way.
Right.
And it just showing them your day and what you're doing.
Yeah. And like, so it's funny because my success partner, I am a true classic introvert. Like, I like my time alone. I like quiet. I don't like to be overcommitted. I am a true I'm outgoing, but I'm a true introvert. My success partner is not. Like, she's such an extrovert. She's like the Triller TikTok queen. Like, her stories are fun and exciting, and mine are super boring. Like, people watch my stories purely for my dog. They want nothing to do with me. But she was on a call with her corporate mentor and talking about how we're struggling building a coaching team beyond discount coaches. And her corporate mentor was like, when I look at the top coaches' stories, they're super boring. All they're sharing is to-do lists and what they're doing. And like, it's boring. Like, why would anyone want to watch it? And she's like, but then I watch your stories, not mine, my success partner. And she's like, they're fun and exciting. And it looks like all you're doing is having fun all day. And she's like, I'm not sure people are connecting the work involved. And so that served me really well, even though I wasn't on that call, because I was like, well, that's perfect, because I'm an introvert and I'm super boring. So I'll just keep sharing the way I'm sharing, but show more tactically what's going on. And then that's it. Like, but I will tell you this, if you're trying to invite from stories, because we're not really doing an invite call here, but if you're trying to invite from stories, I don't have a lot of success with it. Everyone I invite from my stories is like, oh no, I just love watching you. And I'm like, you love watching me, but you're too busy to join me. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm actually going to do a story about that soon. I'm really going to do it. It's going to be kind of itchy, but I'm going to do it because it's so annoying to me. I'm like, if you don't have time, you don't have time for Instagram stories. What are you doing here? So I'm going to do a story about it, but I don't have a lot of success inviting from there.
I get like one, so far I've gotten like 2 watchers who've been watching me for a year, but it takes like, you get one of those people a year. So it's a very slow rotation.
It's not been a good turnaround time for me on there either. So don't get discouraged if that happens.
I feel like those watchers though, like what I found with those watchers, if I actually go and engage on their page and just start like relationship building with them, like commenting on their page, liking their posts, that's when they end up a year later. That's when they sign up with me when I start to like,
if you reach out to those people.
Yeah. Instead of inviting, and you know what? Don't discount that, because the watchers can be someone who you invite. Jonna watched me for 5 years. I don't know how many long. And I didn't even know it. And she's an amazing coach, you know? And so don't discount those people that watch for a long time, because they can be really solid builders, because it just takes them a long time to get started. Yeah. And when they do, they're consistent. Like they're willing to put in the work, you know, in those little small efforts, which is what you want as a coach. You don't want someone, do you know how many coaches like I've had come in, and I'm sure you've had, like, I'm going to do everything, like give it all to me. And then like they're gone in 2 days or a week or whatever. So the people that actually watch, I find the people that take a long time to sign up, I feel like those people are more successful as coaches than the people that just like, I'm all in from the beginning, you know, and they haven't done anything.
Well, so I was scared and I didn't believe what I was seeing. So it took me a really long time to actually believe what I was seeing.
So don't discount the watchers, and don't be scared to invite them. But here's what I do, and like, not to like take over the call, but like I'll invite them and then I don't ask them again.
Yes.
I just engage with them. Like because there's someone I like for whatever reason. Like I like if there's someone that I like, if there's someone that I like their content, I like what they post, I feel like we have a connection, like we have some commonalities, then I will engage. Like Marcella, my brand new coach, was like this type of person. Like she was someone who watched my stories. I invited her to become a coach, not challenge group, because I didn't think she needed it. She watched me, and then finally, like a year later, was like, can we talk about coaching? Like, I'm ready. And she enrolled right away. But all I did was just, I liked her posts and commented on her posts. I didn't ever invite her again. And that's how Stephanie Kaufman came into the business. Like Stephanie was like I invited her to coaching, or actually her cousin did. And then, I just would check in with her, but I never would ask her. If you're only reaching out to someone every time and you're saying, so have you thought about coaching? So have you thought about the challenge group? Hey, I wanted to follow up with you. Are you ready to get started this month? And you're not just reaching back out and saying, hey, what's going on with you? How's your life? And you're not really making a connection with someone. You're just trying to sell them.
Right. Yeah, totally. So
I mean, I know you know that. I'm saying that more for like, the newer coaches and
yeah. And that's actually something if I didn't really plan to give you guys like a lot of tips or anything, but that is something that I would say, because I really had to take a step back from using social for scrolling purposes during all that, because there was a ton of triggers involved for me. And I really was on social media for business, to do business and to connect for business. And so I didn't do a lot of story watching and connecting with people from there. I didn't go to a lot of profiles. And it did stall my social media growth, for whatever that's even worth, because it doesn't really matter who's watching if they're not doing anything. But what I would encourage you to do is connect with the people who are connecting with you. And then if you're not in a season full of triggers, I have been watching people's stories and sending messages from stories that have nothing to do with coaching. And that's, it's upping my views, and it's just getting me that initial connection. But that's a good point. Like if you've invited somebody and they ignored you or whatever, I have been coming back and saying, I hope my message didn't offend you. And usually that gets them to finally reply and be like, no, I just was busy or whatever. And then we can start talking about real life. But yeah, like really, really having the mindset of being on social media for a purpose and not recreationally is, I feel, really important, both for time management and for actually building. But that's definitely what I would say, is connect with the people who are connecting with you, and engaging on their content does help get more people engaging with you.
So you said that you don't really invite from stories. So how do you invite?
I have been going back to, and I don't know what you've been teaching lately. I've honestly been going back to cold invites. And my success partner and I are like, you know what, and there's another really good call about this that I can try and share all these calls with you that I've mentioned, but it's not really cold invites if they're your follower. They're choosing to follow you. I don't do this on Facebook, okay? Because I do hate the people who send you a friend request and then invite you. Like, that's super annoying. And people aren't on Facebook to buy things like they're on Instagram to buy things. Bonnie Engel did a really good talk, I think at NLC, about this, where she was like, at first I was hesitant to talk about anything on Instagram until I realized everything I had on my body was purchased from Instagram. She's like, my lashes, my lipstick, my athleisure, everything I had on my body was a purchase from Instagram. So people really are on Instagram, like either looking for information, looking to connect with people like them, or to buy things. So it's a little bit easier of a platform there. And so we're like, if somebody's choosing to follow me, they're watching parts of my story and my feed, and I don't feel like that's a cold person anymore. But I don't send like, hey girl, I send, a very specific message that's like, I'm looking for, let me pull my last one up. It's probably easier if I just read it. I try to personalize it. So I'll say something like, popping by because I've opened enrollment for my May virtual gym. It's full of my favorite girls who want to make some positive changes with health, fitness, and nutrition and mindset. I've only opened 5 spots because, let's face it, 3rd trimester pregnancy is tiring, and I want to truly mentor the girls I work with, not just throw them into a group. So I'm keeping my number small. 4 spots are taken. I have 1 left, and I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to reach out to you. Do you want to be one of my workout buddies as I prep for Sienna? So I'm still sending a very personal message. If I know their name, I'm putting their name in there. If not, I'm saying something like, my dear or sweet girl. Those are phrases I use. So it's not just, I feel good about that message. And I haven't had anybody be like, I have had somebody be like, no, unfollowed. I was like, fine, whatever, like, that's fine. But so I have been kind of just going back to reaching out to my following, not who I'm following, my followers, because they've chosen to be on my page for a reason. If they don't like that I'm inviting them, they can unfollow me. That's fine. And if they say no, then I just go and engage and be like, no worries at all. And I thank them for the reply. I'm like, thank you so much for the reply though. And how are you doing through all this craziness? And I just have a real life personal conversation with them. But I personally find that trying to build a relationship and then transition into the invite feels a lot more awkward than just coming out and saying like, what do I want? I want people in my groups. I want women I connect with in my groups. And this is a nice, kind message. If they're offended by it, then they're probably not my people, and that's okay. But I'm getting into a lot more inboxes this way. I'm getting a lot more people filling out my Google form this way, because then I reply back like with the conversation flow that I shared in the team page. So I won't rehash that. But that's how I've gone back to that, because I was just like, it just feels so awkward to me to be like, oh, we've been talking about their kids and their puppies, and now I'm like, hey, by the way, like, it just, somebody did a presentation on, you have to invite the way that feels good for you. And I'm like, I would much rather know somebody started a conversation with me because they had something they loved and wanted to share it with me, than they started a conversation with me to ultimately invite them for me to pay for something. Like, I just would rather somebody be straightforward with what they want from me and give me the option of saying no. Like, I tell people no. I get lots of network marketing invites, and I'm just like, hey, no, thank you. Thanks for thinking of me. This is not for me. Or, but yeah, I've gone back to that because I just was like at a loss. I was trying to invite from posts for a while. Again, I was getting like nobody. And I was like, I need more people. If I want to build this thing, I need more people.
So do you go to your follower list of your followers and you just, pick 5 or 10 or however many and you invite them? You just, the women that you feel, and you just randomly, like, you haven't messaged them before?
Some of them I haven't. No. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I do is I go and I'll go to like A, and I'll try to fill up my page with invites for letter A. And then the next day I'll go to B. And some days, I mean, my success partner and I had like this big lofty goal of really high invite numbers. And I would say I probably get anywhere from 15 to sometimes 50.
A week or a day?
A day. And I don't do it on the weekends.
So Monday through Friday.
I try, Monday through Friday. And I basically try to use my business activity tracker, the backside that has the contact tracking, and I just try to fill up that page. And it doesn't have to all be invites. If I get to somebody who maybe we've connected and I see that you just lost a baby, like, I'm just going to be a real person and have a conversation. Like, don't, just because you're in invite mode, feel like all you can send is invites. If you get to a person who, like, it's not maybe an appropriate time to invite them, then just be a person and connect. But if you get to somebody and you look at their page and you're like, I think I'd like to have this girl in my group, then yeah, I've just been sending that and letting it be what it is. I've gotten really good responses though. They're like, yeah, I'd like to know more. And then that's where I can try to collect information from the form from them and say, like, I've been saying, you're too important to me to just send you recommendations where you fill out this form so I know what you need. And it's allowing me to create a personal approach with them. But yeah, I feel like numbers wise, I think the relationship building thing is phenomenal, but I feel like if we're talking about trying to build, I don't think coaches build. I don't know, Marissa, you could say what you think, I guess. I don't think coaches are building massive teams by solely connecting before they invite. I think they're inviting.
But that's a good point. But you're still doing, it's just a good, slightly different perspective. And I needed to hear that actually, because it's been a process for me over the year of being a new coach. And first of all, getting comfortable with even trying to figure out what it means to like reach out to grow an Instagram. Like, that was confusing, first of all. Second of all, to try and then like realize how you can start to bring people into you by creating those relationships. But also now that I'm a little more comfortable with that, I do want to find a way to be a little more direct, because I feel like how many friends do I need before I really like can start to do something, or not feel like now I'm a creep. Now I'm like, oh, we had a fake friendship, and have somebody think we had a fake friendship while I ask them. But so that's a good perspective of how you can, like, as you get kind of understanding what you're doing, how you can kind of more focus it more directly like that for a growth in a different way.
Right.
Well, it's to be honest, it's not extremely different from building the relationship first.
Yeah.
Because you could start building a relationship with someone, and then you could be going through your A's and then send them an invite, and then they say no, and then you can continue building that relationship.
Exactly.
So it's just a little tiny tweak, and you're just being more upfront from the beginning instead of like,
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you something.
Okay.
So after you've invited them, if they're a no, like they're a cold person and you've never messaged them before and they're a no, do you have a way of kind of keeping them in your like list where you're like, oh, I need to, like, you want to message them again? So it doesn't just look like I just invited them and then I never talk to them again.
Yeah. So I do
like a follow-up, but
what I do is I put all my tracker pages for like the quarter into I spiral bound it. And so I'll put the date, Monday, whatever date. And then when I get to the point of like wanting to go back, like then I have that list of people that I can go back to and create that conversation with. Or the next time that I'm in invite mode, if I go to their message, I will just have I'll be like, how are you doing? Versus putting them on my invite list that day. So I don't necessarily have like I'm going to go really try to focus on building this relationship. I did start doing some collections on Instagram of people who I would like on my coaching team to try and go be more consistent about engaging with their stuff. But yeah, I guess my follow-up method would be like in the tracking of those conversations, being able to go back and be like, who have I talked to before? And using sort of like a highlight system method of like follow-ups or like check back later with, and things like that. Or if like it's somebody who, say it is a new lost mom, I have created some content for lost moms, like a guide to grief and things like that. And I'll offer to send them that. And I send that via email. So I have their email and I can reach out to them that way as well. So that's sort of my method of doing that. It's not a strategic thing that I do for a reason or on a regular basis, but I do have their name down that I can go back and be like, okay, let me continue checking on this person or something like that.
I think that was like extremely helpful because it shows people like how to do it a different way. In general, I don't like cold inviting. I mean, I tried it for a little while and I wasn't having like a good experience with it. So I'm more of like watch people's stories, do a story reaction, send them a quick message, comment on their post, like a couple of their posts, chat with them for a little bit, invite them to either a challenge group or coaching based on what I see. And then if it's a no, then it's just to continue the relationship until, and if they're watching my stories and seeing my content, then engaging on their stuff too, until eventually they're like reaching out to me. So it's, you know, but I'm and just a side note for you guys, like, you don't have to necessarily be inviting to a paid group either. You could be cold messaging people and you could be inviting to a free community. Like what I have a free community, you know, my sisterhood. If you guys aren't in it, you're welcome to be in it. Where I had bought content and it's Monday through Friday posts. The group is exploding. Like there's so much engagement in my group right now. I actually bought like additional COVID specific content this month for $25. I bought 30 days worth of COVID specific content. And like, this group is amazing. I've never had a free group engage like this. I only have like 200 women in it. And like, you know, at least 50% of the women are seeing the posts, which is pretty crazy, you know, and like there's a lot of engagement. So what that's doing for me is it's taking them off of just watching like my Instagram stories or my Instagram posts and actually getting more value from me in a smaller community that eventually I'm going to start personally messaging these people. I haven't yet because I'm just getting people into it right now. And then eventually that's going to turn into an actual like invite, like a personal invite. I do share in that group. Like when I'm starting a group, I post in there and I invite them like a general invite, but like I'm going to start more personalizing it and reaching out to those people. So you could cold invite to a free community, and then you can, if you feel uncomfortable with cold inviting them to pay, especially if you're a newer coach, you might not know your value yet. Jen knows her value. She's been a coach for a long time. So she knows when she's offering someone to purchase that they're actually going to get a really good value with her, which is important. So.
Right. And I think that's a really good point. Like inviting to free is like, you should never feel bad about that. But then I also like what you said, Marissa, because if that method of inviting feels better for you, like you need to invite the way you're most comfortable and the way you'd want to be invited and how you want to be engaged with. And it doesn't have to look like another coach's. And really finding your right flow with that is super important, because if you're not, you're just going to sound awkward. You're not going to be authentically connecting. And it's not fun. So like, but I don't find it fun to build this relationship, know all these things about people, have somebody who wants to lose 50 pounds and is stuck, and then tell me no once I invite them. Cause I'm like, or tell me, like I've done all this work and then they tell me no, like that's not fun for me either. So I'd rather get down to it and build the relationship after, because then I feel like I'm not, I don't want to say wasting time, because I don't think the other method is wasting time, but I feel like my time's used better that way. But it totally goes to show you that different comfort levels and different like anybody can do anything with a method they're comfortable with. And it's just finding that for you and finding your voice enough so that those invites feel comfortable, not gross, you know?
And a big part of that is belief in yourself, believing that what you offer, not the products, you, is valuable. And that takes time. That takes, you know, a lot of time for you to feel, especially as a new coach. And some people right off the bat, you know, anomalies can do it. But I just, to like a real quick last share, you know, I was posting for 6 months and trying to build my business for 6 months and didn't know what the hell I was doing, just like throwing things up on the wall, like hoping, and then, you know, almost ready to quit because it wasn't going anywhere until until like 6 months in is when I actually started to be more consistent and to like really believe that I could do this and accept that I was going to hear a lot of no's and not worry about it and not take them personally. And when my mindset changed, like when my mentality changed from that, like that 6 months where I was really not doing anything, but I was kind of like trying, to when I finally was like, I'm all in, like I want to build this business. I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to talk to as many people as possible. That attitude of, I don't care how many people I have to talk to, like I'm going to make this work, is what ultimately made me successful, you know, because I believed that I was going to do it. There wasn't any going back for me. I wasn't going to be a full-time nurse anesthetist anymore. So, and what I've seen happen with Jenny is I've seen her go from like kind of almost like scrambling around because I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't really have like, I couldn't pass on a system to her, you know, and we were just like all trying to throw, to now seeing her consistency and seeing her belief in herself and her confidence in her shares is completely different than when she started 6 years ago. So it takes time to build that. Some people can do it in a month, you know, some people it takes years. For me, it took like 6 months or whatever until I just was all in. But whenever you do decide to believe in yourself and understand that you are the value, like your coaching is the value. And of course, yes, the products are amazing too, but you're the value that they're getting. And once you believe that you have that to offer someone and you show that confidence, that's when people start to say yes.
Right.
That's when you start building your team. And that's what I've seen happen with Jenny. So
and that's like, if you take nothing else away, take that. Like Beachbody is the tools, you are the value. You have to know that in your conversations. You have to know that as you present content. You have to know that as you engage on any level, beginning to end, challenger to coach, all of that. You have to know that you're the value in the equation for it. You're connecting them with the tools, but you're the piece. You're the piece that connects and wraps all this up. And that's really, really important, because when you know that, you're not going to settle for somebody being like, well, I can't pay you right now. Like, well, okay, then we'll work together later. But, you know, like, or give them free stuff. But yeah, you're the value, and that's really important. So.
Right. So you also have to be the value. Like you also have to build your groups and offer value. It can't just be you posting, oh, I worked out today, I did my Shakeology today. It's got to be like whatever is helping you move through your journey. That's what you need to be sharing in your groups. And that's why I'm always harping on how important it is to be getting engaged in those groups, not just the one that you're running, but you know, the challenge group that you're in, the team group that you're in, because that's going to teach you how to be able to do it when you run your own. Can we do a boomerang really quick before we get off here? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Oh, sorry. I saw. So are we doing a boomerang?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. I'll just be the opposite one over here.
You didn't move, but I have another one of you when you're talking that I'm going to post and tag you in the story. So that'll be good. Thank you so much for coming on the call. Like I appreciate it. I know Stephanie's already writing, like, this is an awesome call. It's so good to get different perspectives from different coaches who have, you know, built, and congratulations on your amazing success. I mean, I'm so happy to see it. It makes me so happy for you and what you're doing with your team and your family. And, you know, just, I'm glad I was even a tiny little part of that by inviting you.
You're a big part of it. So thank you for the role you've played, for sure.
And it's sad to me that you didn't have anyone there for you during that time. And I mean, I tried to always be like, if you ever need anything, I'm here, you know, just, but I didn't want to like bother you either.
No, so. You were fine. And when I said that, you weren't the person I was Thank you. It was more my
downline,
the people I had poured so much into, like, because you poured a ton into me. Like, I wasn't expecting that out of you, but like, I felt like I had really poured into people and been there for people and supported their people, and they were absent. And that really, I was like, I did something not wrong, but my approach was off here, because I don't want that person. I want the people who are like, you will not go through this alone.
And that I think is something that a lot of coaches learn on their coaching journey, is like, in the beginning, you're just taking anyone and you're trying to be everything to them. And then what happens is you create a team and clients and coaches that are completely dependent on you. And if you're not able to continue to be everything to them, your business falls apart. And that's what happened to me. And that's what happened to Jenny. That's what happened to Lauren, who she hasn't come back yet, but I hope someday she will. And it's like, if you go away, because she had a tough pregnancy too, and then when she went away, her team fell apart. And now the difference is that the people I'm attracting, like, for example, Jonna doesn't depend on shit from me. Like, Jonna, I mean, I focused just like, I'm going to keep talking. I got to get off here because I know people got to go. But what I focused on in starting my new coaches, and what I do focus on now, is I focus on the relationship that I'm building with them. I really do. And I focused on getting to know Jonna as a person, and not being, I didn't want to be her Beachbody Google. Like, so when she would just like ask me random like Beachbody questions, I'd be like, hey, can we like actually get on the phone and can we talk? And I expressed to her, like, from the very beginning, I was like, listen, I don't just want this to be, you reach out to me when you need Beachbody information. Like, I want to know you. I want to be friends. I want to have a relationship. Like, that's important to me. So can we do that? And she was like, sure. And so we got to know each other, on a personal level, and not just me being like her Beachbody Google, So I encourage you to focus when you're doing with your challengers and your coaches, like in the beginning, especially starting new coaches, I focus on like building that relationship with them and building a connection. And of course, encouraging them to continue on their journey. And of course, we had conversations that were, all around Beachbody, but we did a lot of voice texting. Like, Jonna would ask me a question, I would record a message, and I actually would save it in my voice memos on my iPhone, so that when people, and I labeled it, so when people have the same questions, should I sign up a customer or a coach? Is it discount coach? I have that saved, and I have the explanation saved. So when I have new coaches, I can just send that to them. So for me, I focus more on, and Morrow, focuses on the group messages and getting somebody in a group thread and getting them. So my point is, if you're just being somebody's Beachbody Google, that's not going to build a relationship with them. It's just going to ultimately make them be dependent on you, and they're not going to be able to do it on their own. But if you focus on building a connection, like a genuine connection and relationship and friendship with someone, and then of course you weave into that, sharing Beachbody and teaching them how to build a business, that's going to last a lot longer than if you become their Beachbody. I need to provide them with everything they need to be successful as a coach, which is what I thought I was supposed to do too, which is probably why Jenny thinks she's supposed to do it, and which is why so many coaches, it gets passed on and on and on. And yet Jonna is having an extremely different experience, because she joined my team like 6 years in, and I was a different coach, and she's extremely interdependent. It's not just that Jonna, and I keep referencing her because she's my actual like coach, and none of you guys are anybody else on this call. You're all from somebody else. She is not only dependent, like independent, and can do her own thing, but yet she will step up and help out this team. So that is what Jenny's talking about with the tribe. Like, she did guest speaking, and she, ran the call without me last weekend when it was my birthday. And I know if I ask Jonna to do something, she will pull through, in her time. And I had the same exact team as Jenny, where it was like, I would even ask people to do things, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, I just want you to do everything for me. And then I never felt like anybody had my back. So be confident in what you have to offer, because you want to attract the person that is going to have your back. You don't just have their back, they have yours too. And that's what Jenny's building now. And that's what's amazing to see. So
I have to run. I had something I was supposed to do at 11. So I'm so sorry, but thank you for having me. And if you girls have any other questions, I'm happy to answer in the team page or whatever.
We appreciate you. Sorry for going over today.
That's okay. It's totally fine. All right.
Have a good one, ladies.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.